Hey guys, welcome to another video. So in this particular video, I'll be talking about the parts of an aerofoil. Now, in the last video, have already spoken what is an aerofoil, what is a cross section and all these things. If you don't remember, have a look at it, right? So in this particular aerofoil, let's imagine an airplane wing, and in our imagination, let's take a slice out of the wing, right? A cross section out of the wing, an airplane's wing, that is. So when we take a slice out of it, something like this is what we get, right? This is a cross section view of an aerofoil, right? So if, let's say, you will imagine seeing a wing from the side, this is almost what it should look like, right? So let's look at the parts of an aerofoil, or the terminologies of an aerofoil. Now, starting with the basics, this, I've written it already here. This is the leading edge of an aerofoil, or the front side of an aerofoil, and this is the trailing edge of the aerofoil, or the back side of an aerofoil, to be kept simple, right? There's no front side or back side, there's no terminology like that. There's only leading edge and there is trailing edge. So the leading edge is the front edge, and the trailing edge is the rear edge, right, of the aerofoil. Now I want you, this is another important thing, it's the chord line. So if you imagine a line, an imaginary line joining the leading edge to the trailing edge, it's called as a chord line, right? C-H-O-R-D-L-I-N-E, chord line, right? Front to the back, if you draw a line. Now again, do you see this pink line? It's called as the camber line, C-A-M-B-E-R, camber line, right? So again, you're seeing that this line, this pink line, is going from the front edge or the leading edge to the trailing edge, right? But what's the difference between a camber line and a chord line? Can you at least guess it? If not, of course, I'll give you the answer. So what happens is that the chord line, the chord line is just a line which is going from the leading edge to the trailing edge. But the camber line basically divides any aerofoil into two equal halves, right? So this line, of course, in my drawing, it does not seem so, but this pink line, if you cut across a wing on a camber line, in that particular case, you'll get two equal halves of an aerofoil. But in case of a chord line, you may or may not always get two equal halves if you cut it. So chord line is just a line from the leading edge to the trailing edge. The camber line is a line from the leading edge to the trailing edge again, but it divides the aerofoil into two equal halves, right? Now there's another concept called as max camber, right? Max, C-A-M-B-E-R, maximum camber, right? So it is this blue thing. So it's the distance between the chord line, which is this black line from the leading to the trailing, to the camber line, right? So this distance, this small thing, is the max camber. So when is max camber coming into effect? It is generally coming into effect when they are generally designing a wing, and all these things basically decide the utility of a wing. So it can be a sports aircraft, it can be a utility aircraft, it can be a passenger huge aircraft. So for all these things, the size, the camber line will vary, right? There are a few more definitions, like maximum thickness. So maximum thickness would be the difference between the upper and the lower surface of the aerofoil. So basically, as whatever it means, it is self-explanatory. Maximum thickness is this, the distance between the lower surface and the upper surface. And finally, there's one more It's the maximum thickness chord ratio. So the definition mentioned is the ratio of the maximum thickness to chord expressed as a percentage, right? So the ratio between this, which is the maximum thickness, to this chord line. So if you look at it, the ratio between the vertical and the horizontal, right? That is what you call the maximum thickness chord ratio. Now I also wanted to bring in one more thing which I couldn't draw yet. So now let's say this is a symmetrical aerofoil, right? So in this particular case, if you notice that if I draw a line like this, it is dividing this aerofoil into two equal halves, right? So this line is from the leading edge to the trailing edge as well, right? So this can be called as your chord line, but it's also dividing the aerofoil into two equal halves. So it can also be called as your mean camber line as well, or your camber line. So in case of a symmetrical aerofoil, your chord and your camber line are the same because the camber line is dividing the aerofoil into two equal halves. Now let me draw a thick aerofoil like this. Of course, there won't be such thick aerofoil, there can be. And now let's say if I draw a line like this, joining the leading edge and the trailing edge. So this is not divided, this is a asymmetrical aerofoil, right? So this is not dividing the aerofoil into two equal halves, but this is the chord line, which is from the leading edge to the trailing edge. So the mean camber line would be something like this. Now if I, let's say this, so if I cut this aerofoil into two equal halves over here, it will give me two identical halves, right? So there's a difference between the chord and the camber line in an asymmetrical aerofoil, but in case of a symmetric, there is no difference between a chord and a camber line, right? So I know a few things might be a bit a lot for you to take in right now, but as the classes progresses and we both are learning together in this, I'm also revising all the basics. So if there is anything that you want to ask, of course feel free, and if there is anything that you find is wrong, of course I might forget a few things, I might be wrong in some cases as well. You can always call me out on that. So happy landings guys, cheers, take care.